Everyone, welcome to another episode of Independent Artists Unite song series. Today we have back on the show Scott from Hororhaus.
What's up, guys?
Welcome, my friend. It's the Scott and
Hi.
Scott show.
Yeah, exactly. How you doing, Scott?
I'm
John
good.
Scott.
I'm good. I'm a little I don't like it when I have to base my outfits on how hot it is. You know what I mean?
I know. How
It's
hot
very
is it by you?
constricting.
How hot is it by you?
It's not even that hot. I'm telling you, I've become so spoiled since I moved to Denmark. I mean, it's
Right.
like, it's like 70 something degrees, but I'm like, oh.
Right.
Well, for one thing, there's no air conditioning here as kind of as a rule. I guess businesses have air conditioning, but
Right.
it's very
That's
rare that a private home has air
right.
conditioning. But I
Yeah.
remember that about New York. I was when I was in the city, it was like you go from Starbucks to Starbucks.
Yeah. It's been pretty brutal up here, actually. We've been having heat waves or whatever. So there's been days that have been like 102, which is no fun.
Oh, geez, yeah,
You know, we do have air conditioning, in houses and stuff like that. And a lot of apartments, I'm sure, have window units and stuff like that. So,
yeah, yeah,
it can be brutal. I
yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, we're here today to talk about your new single, Retribution, off your
Yeah.
upcoming album. But I want to
Yeah.
get into the history a little bit because
Sure.
when I did a one of these Throwback Thursday posts, you mentioned, oh, we have a mutual friend in this model, Karen Bernstein, who was like very much in the rock and roll scene there. And
Yeah.
but what years were you in New York City? I always forget.
Oh, well, I mean, I lived in New York City. I grew up next to the city. I was in Bergen County in New Jersey,
Oh, okay.
and I mean, my mom's from New York City, so I was always going to the city. Her whole side of her family was from there. So I've been going there since, 13, 14, to the East Village to go
Yeah.
vinyl shopping and stuff in the 80s. But I started hanging out at night around 1985, right after I graduated high school.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had been in, went to like Danceteria and Aztec Pyramid, those clubs like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Started hanging out there. But yeah, as far as the rock scene is concerned, I mean, I started hanging out like a cat club in Limelight and that kind of stuff, like in
Mm.
the late 80s, scrap bar, things like that.
Scrap Bar, that's right.
Yeah,
I lived right down the street from Scrap Bar
did you really?
at one point. Yeah, yeah. So I frequented there a lot.
Yeah, so I moved to the city in 90, but I had been going to the city. I lived about 45 minutes from the city. So I'd be there, 5, 6 nights a week, seeing bands and just going crazy up until I moved in 90. But, I was mainstay in rock scene a lot. I knew Karen in 92, I think it was early 92, through my friends Ryan Roxy, if you know who that is. I was in a band with him, Cold Emperor's New Clothes. He was from Electric Angels, and he is a guitar player for Alice Cooper now.
Oh,
He had
wow.
been for a long time. Yeah, but we knew her through the scene and started hanging out with her. And I did a lot of those, those model clubs that she hung out at, like
Yeah, yeah.
Cafe Back and a bunch of other places or whatever. So, we were friendly for a while,
Like
but it's
Spy
funny.
Bar and thing.
Yeah, that was a little bit later. I mean, like
Well, it
I
was
think
later.
I
Okay.
started. Yeah, I started hanging out at. I did go, kind of migrated over to Soho at a certain point, like probably around like 96 or something like that. I started hanging out, kind of like got away. It was Scrap Bar closed. I think around like 95
Ah,
or something
no,
like that.
no. Oh,
Yeah,
well.
it closed in like 95, and I was there for like they basically demolished the interior of that place or whatever, all the kids and stuff,
Mm.
rock people. But yeah, I started hanging out at Spy Wax and that sort of scene or whatever.
Oh,
That those
Wax. That was another one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wax and Spy that were like right around the corner from each other. Actually, we started hanging out at Merc Bar. A lot of friends of mine or whatever. We were hanging out there. We pregame there because we ended up becoming friendly with the bartenders, and so um,
Pre-game.
yeah, we pregame there, and then we would go to Wax and Spy. But those
Yeah.
are great places. I saw a lot of famous people hanging out at Spy for
Oh, yeah.
sure. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
like Prince, Billy Idol,
yeah.
James Hetfield, the guy from Jamiroquai when they were becoming big,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
when the Grammy and stuff. So you would see people like that there. Yeah, that was a fun scene for sure. But yeah, but I did know her in 92, 93 or so like that.
I
So it's
went
funny when I
to,
saw that picture of you with her, I was like, oh wow, you know.
and did you go to her wedding when she married Richard from Ramstein?
No, no,
Oh
no,
no,
not at
okay.
all. Not at all. I'll tell you a party that I went to with her. We went to a Christy Turlington's 21st birthday party.
21st. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, that was like 92. And like all those people were there, Christy Turlington and those people or whatever.
I met
It
her.
was
I met her
amazing.
one time too. It is like it took your breath away to look at her in person.
Mhm.
Christy Turlington.
Yeah, I mean, all those.
Wow.
She was there. Helena Christensen was there. I mean, Claudia Schiffer was there. I mean, it was the whole like supermodel, very early '90s thing or whatever.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see those people in real life, where you see them in pictures, and then
Yeah.
almost like old Hollywood, like you see these famous people, and you're like, wait, really, those people exist? Yeah, they do. You know? Yeah,
Yeah. So, but when we see like some of your throwback pictures with the big mohawk and everything,
yeah,
is that in New York City? You're hanging
yeah,
out
totally.
like St.
Yeah,
Mark's and
totally.
stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 90, 85, 86, 87, around that time period, going to Danceteria, Aztec Lounge. I hung out a lot. Um, like I said, Pyramid, Lower East Side, a lot of hardcore shows. I went to a lot of like crossover shows and stuff like that. But was really into like heavy music and I always had been. So I always wanted to go and check out what was going on. So I did hang out in a hardcore scene, believe it or not. At that time, and it was a little rough because of the way I looked or whatever. But I became friends
Mm.
with people, so I was protected for some
What
reason.
was
So
it like Sundays during the day at CBGB's
they
where it
had the
was just crazy?
CBGB, yeah, they had the CBGB's Sunday matinee thing. I didn't really do that though. Although I was invited by people to go, and they were like, "We got you, don't worry," or whatever. I was always a little chicken shit to go. I went to
Mm.
the rich shows, um, you know, so like Crow Mags and Bad
Mm.
Brains and GBH and Fear and who else? Crumbsuckers, Leeway, all those bands at that time that were playing or whatever. So and I saw a lot of good stuff back then. But it was interesting while how the hardcore scene sort of morphed into crossover, and then like bands like Slayer, Metallica, and thrash bands took like some hardcore influences and kind of moved that forward into their own genre, and then like kind of blew up. I mean, they were all wearing Misfits shirts, Metallica, and into
Mm.
Minor Threat and stuff like that. So it's interesting. It was a good
And what
time.
at what point were you like you're hanging out, coming to the city and stuff like that? At what point you're like, I want to get in on this, so I'm gonna get in on and join a band.
I've always wanted to play New York City, basically. I mean, that was like the goal, really. I just was so like I'm such a music nerd. I mean, really kind of like because my parents, my mom from New York City, and we lived in Jersey, and she was just like, I was 16, and that was probably 1983. And I mean, like everything was happening at the Ritz, all the new wave scene was happening, and I was a big new
Mm.
wave fan. And so I wanted to go to the Ritz because it was 16 and up, but of course, my mom was like, no, you can't go. No, you're not going, or whatever. I waited until I was 18. And then when I turned 18, I started going to the city. I was like, I'm done, I'm going. And I go all the time and I'd see so many things. But I wanted to play music. I always wanted to play music. So I started playing in bands. I had a band that was in New Jersey that I had that played a lot in the Jersey scene, the Jersey kind of glam rock kind of like thing that was starting to happen
Mm.
with Guns N' Roses, Faster Pussycat, LA Guns, and all that kind of stuff that was starting to happen. And I started playing in a couple bands in New York City and kind of did the Cat Club, I did Limelight, did that whole like run and scene and stuff like that. And then the band The Throbs broke up and they started this new thing, the Vibes, with Roger Erickson, and Danny Nordell. Danny Nordell is in Faster Pussycat, believe it or not, still, and Faster Pussycat are still playing a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, so we started doing that, and
And was
and
it, let me just interrupt you for a second. Is this you're joining these bands as a drummer or were you a singer
as a
at that
drummer, yeah,
as a
yeah, I
drummer?
played, yeah, as a drummer. I mean, I didn't really. I did a couple things like demo wise, and tried to get some things together where I'd be out front, but most of it was really just playing drums. So I
And
played
how
drums.
did you make that transition? Because I always feel like, I answered this ad in the back of the Village Voice, the first, when I
Yeah,
joined a band in New York.
that's
It's
awesome.
like, it's excruciating, it's like you
Sure.
really have to summon some courage to like, go from the drums to out in front.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, it was really hard. I've been struggling with it for years to make that decision to actually do that kind of move a little bit away from just doing drums. I always felt like, I mean, I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I play a bunch of instruments. So,
Mm.
I play keyboards, I play bass, I play a little bit of guitar, do vocals too, and drums are my first instrument. But I always wanted to kind of do something that was going to be my own vision. And that was hard to do, like as a drummer, because, as a drummer, you're kind of working together with people and you're providing backbeats and you're not necessarily maybe running the band or anything like that. Although many times in bands that I had been involved with before, I did have a bit of a say and kind of like a freedom to be able to create what I wanted to create. And I recorded with a lot of people, did a lot of studio stuff, and but at the time I think around I started wanting to do this sort of like horror house ish kind of thing in the '90s, and I just didn't have the really like the capability to be able to do that. Like I didn't want to go into a studio. It's just kind of like, well, it's electronic. So I had a studio with my music partner at the time. We built a studio together, and I started doing some electronic stuff, but I never finished it, never really finished it. But then somewhere around like 2015, 16, there had been a big explosion of electronic bands that were happening, like Boy Harsher and dark wave things like Drat Majesty and things like that. And they kind of inspired me to say like, oh, these are two people doing this sort of music that like I really love, and it's kind of driving me, and I want to kind of get back into doing that. And then pandemic happened. So right before the
Mm.
pandemic, I was like started Embryonic Hororhaus, like the first EP. I started working on that in November before the pandemic. Then March hit, pandemic hit, got in a depression for a couple of weeks or
Mm.
months or whatever, probably a month or so, like a lot of people did, about like what's going to happen and gloom and doom. And I was just like, I'm going to turn this back into something that's going to be positive. So I started doing it. And the hardest thing really with Hororhaus was like actually putting it out to the world and saying,
Mm.
I'm going to get this off my hard drive. And a lot of people I know are scared to kind of do that. Like they're like, oh, I have this project and I'm out front, or I don't know if it's good enough or whatever, but I mean, like, it's a work in progress. I mean, I think like music is a work in progress. Like it's like you come up
Yeah.
with an idea and then you fine craft it and tune it. And sometimes it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I mean, like a lot of the stuff I do is kind of like more on the live tip when I'm recording. So like I kind of have an older school mentality about how I record and how I do stuff, like all
Mm.
across the board, whatever project it is. And obviously Hororhaus has given me enough confidence to be able to move forward and do this project that I'm doing now, Ancient My Enemy. And then I also did this thing called Dr. Dracus Lab that's out, and like Violet Hour Transmissions is going to be putting that out on cassette and CD. So like, and then I played everything on that project. I mean, I played guitar, bass, drums, and that was something is completely death rock, and it's not like anything that's like Hororhaus. It's completely different. So I mean, like it kind of gave me that push to be able to be like, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this and keep creating music and just keep putting it out there. And I just find that by being creative and keep doing projects keeps me in a better state of mind in life,
Mm.
and makes me feel really good about doing things and feeling like a sense of accomplishment. I think a lot of people get caught in a rut of like in that midway sort of stage, like I'm doing something but they never finish it. And sometimes that's a level of comfort of where you're like, I'm kind of in this sort of like in between stage. Yeah, I'm working on it, but at a certain point you have to just like kind of release it to the world and just say,
Yeah.
okay, this is good enough. I mean, you always
Yeah.
can tweak forever, but I've always said that, but like I don't believe in sitting there for 3 or 4 years on a project. I feel like it's like work on it, finish it, put it out there, and do the best that you can. And I think that like with this new single that I did, I mean, it was really for a compilation. Someone got in touch with me about like a compilation thing that they wanted to do for like a 15th anniversary of their like dark. It's like basically a dark black ambient label, and they really liked my ambient stuff. But I was like, I'm just going to do an electronic track. I was like, are you okay with that? And they were like, yeah, 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 cool. If you whatever you want to do. So I did that, and I mean, I wrote this very fast. I mean, this was like a 3-day thing. I think I did
Oh,
this
wow.
track, but
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that because when you were on here last time, you were talking about the dark ambient
yeah,
stuff that you were doing. So this is a real change of a pace there, where I'm almost
exactly
hearing like that,
right.
almost like a Depeche Mode kind of bass or something, trying to
Yeah,
get like a real dance track.
yeah. I mean, like, I kind of Horrorhaus is kind of split. I mean, it's like originally the idea was to be doing this, like, sort of like getting inside my head of like the 70s and 80s of what I grew up with horror music and watching horror movies and things that are dark and just kind of making it conceptual. And each album kind of has a concept about what it is. And even the ambient stuff as well does. Like La Pesadilla is the first ambient record, and that's like about like um sleep paralysis and stuff like that. And that's like it's a whole thing. Like you wake up, you're going to sleep, you fall into this state of hypnagogia, and you keep going forward, and then you wake up at the end, and it's like that's like a thing. And then like the one that's the astral realms of Ars Goetia. That's the second one that we were talking about
Yeah.
that came out, and that's like about demonology and things that were like continued from my other dark wave and second dark wave record, Evocation. So it just was kind of continuing that on, it just in an astral way. But this is back to originally what I was doing, which was an idea of like taking horror soundtrack kind of stuff and putting it to a dance floor sort of thing, like approaching it in a dance floor way. And that's kind of like what I did with this. But the difference between this and what I've been doing in the past dark wave is that like I'm kind of, and I've been wanting to do this for a while, is kind of push it more into like an early 90s kind of thing. I played it for a lot of people before I actually dropped it, and people that I'm really close to that I create with, and they were like, it still sounds like what you do. It doesn't sound like too far off the beaten path of what you do
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Horrorhaus. But I do have like I'm looking at it right now in my studio. Like I have it's a Emu Orbit box. It's a rack mount that I bought in 1995 or six or something like that I use for my studio, that has all those early 90s synth pads in it and
Mm.
drum sounds and stuff. So it like I really liked in the early 90s, like I was very into stoner rock and stuff like that, but I also was very, and it always had been that I had been very into dance music. So like I was very into what was happening at the acid house stuff, the rave kind of stuff that was coming through, like Lords of Acid and things like that. I really liked Lust record, early industrial wax tracks and that kind of stuff. So not so much. I mean, some people I played it for before I dropped it were like, oh, it sounds like Nine Inch Nails, and I'm like, I like them, but that's not really my thing. It's like they're cool, and I
Yeah.
appreciate
I
Point
was thinking that
Reznor.
too, but just like only Pretty Hate Machine kind of vibe.
Yeah, yeah, because like I kind of found that at a certain point that like I think my vocals sit, and when I'm doing this sort of a project with a horror house, sit very well with distortion on them. I really
Yeah.
like that sort of thing. I feel like that my vocals clean go a different direction, and like when I have distortion and I'm recording with distortion on my vocal, it kind of becomes something else, which is
Hmm.
really cool. And
Let
I
me just ask, when you're recording, do you have the distortion sound like in your headphones already?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
that does
I
affect what you're doing, right?
for
It's kind
sure,
of
for
a cool
sure.
thing to do.
Totally. I do that when I'm recording anything, I mean, like a lot of times I'd be recording clean with a lot of reverb on it and stuff like that, just trying to get like an atmosphere kind of feel of thing. But like I really do like I also use that for the Dr. Dracuslab EP that I dropped a couple months ago. I did the same thing where I used distortion on vocals, and I really do like where that sits. I like that a lot. I kind of use that a little bit with TT vocals and HMI Enemy as well in the last EP, which is Crater of Grief. We did that as well, just ever so slightly. I always loved listen to in the 90s when I was touring to a lot of Aretha Franklin, like the 60s stuff. And her vocals, like they would overdrive everything.
Mm.
Like they would overdrive her vocals and they would have that sort of like grit to it.
Oh,
That
crispy.
I,
Yeah.
it's not clean. So, and I feel like that, I like the way that works. So that's what I decided to do with the vocals. And then with the drums and the backbeats and stuff like that, I really wanted to bring, and I have always wanted to kind of go more in of a dark progressive sort of style. So if you know dark progressive, like techno or trance or whatever you want to say, John Digweed was a big DJ at that time, early 90s. No, actually early 2000s, late 90s. He has a couple albums that are like in a global underground series. When I first heard them, if you listen to it, and you listen to Retribution, that whole backbeat thing, it's very sparse. And what they do with the soundscapes is kind of like, it's kind of minor key, but it's very beat based and very kind of dark and smoky. It's like there's not like a super amount of layers going all over the place and string pads and all that, like regular trance has a lot of that,
Like
kind
kind
of
of wall of
filtering.
sound kind of thing.
Yeah, it has a lot of filtering and stuff like that. This is more like a just like it's like dark, smoky sort of atmosphere. That's kind of like what I wanted to mix in with this and maintain still what I was doing before, which was still, there's organ in there, there's some like creepy keyboard kind of lines that are kind of working in there too, which is kind of like what I do. But I also wanted the vocals to be like a little wax tracksy and a little bit more distorted. So yeah, I mean, it's
I
like,
have to say, man, that I just want to interrupt you for a second. You
yeah,
have such an encyclopedic knowledge of all of these artists and all this stuff, man. It's like
yeah.
it really is incredible. Like how much time do you spend just like listening to different like new
Um,
music and stuff like that, or
yeah,
or like what did you listen to all this stuff like when you were a kid and you're just like nonstop listening to stuff?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, like it's just like music is my life. I like work at a music label during the day. I DJ. It's my second job. It's just music. It's just pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah.
that's what I do. But yeah, I mean, like I just like a million different styles of music. I'm a music fan. I'm not one of those. I can tell you what I hate or I don't like, easier than I can tell you what I do like because I just like a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like I try
And
trying to like mix everything together. And I mean, like I listen to all different types of genres of stuff. I mean, like I love dance music a lot, and that's something that is obviously focused around Horrorhaus. I mean, like it's funny because like I go back to like hanging out in like in the 80s and the 90s, like a lot of people that I knew that were rock people, which I
mm,
kind of like would consider myself a dark rocker. I don't think really like I can't really say like I'm a goth. I mean, I guess, but like
yeah.
that's definitely
uh,
in there. But like,
this is
it's
one of those
definitely
things that I don't understand, about the
yeah,
whole like people getting so specific about what
yeah,
goth is and subgenre. It's
right,
like, come on.
yeah, yeah.
If you
I
wear
like
if
dark.
you wear eyeliner and you like the goth aesthetic, you're goth. Why argue about it?
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's totally fun. It's like the Sisters of Mercy saying we're not a goth band. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
I know that was, I
kind of
always was like, come on.
we want to separate yourself from that or whatever. But I mean, music has just been something that's been always part of my life. I mean, my dad was a jazz musician and singer, and my mom grew up and worked in the city, and she was worked on Broadway, and so that had
Oh
always
wow.
been in my life. But obviously, I found my own way. I mean, listening to AM radio, so like I guess like oh, we're gonna go back to like the rockers. The rockers always like the ones that I knew all hung out in the dance clubs too because they were like,
Mm,
it's fun because
yeah.
like, and then they liked Depeche Mode and Dead or Alive just as much as they liked Maiden or whatever, or some hard rock thing or whatever. It doesn't have to be only that. Like it's like if music moves you and you love it, it doesn't matter about like the style. It matters about whether or not you like it and whether or not you're into it. So like um I definitely go down rabbit holes of different types of music that I listen to, and I've explored a lot in my life.
Yeah.
I'm 58, so like I listen to a lot of things, but I'm listening to new things too. I mean, there are new things in the dark scene that I really like that are like dark wave and things that are on the dance tip or whatever. There's things that I listen to. I listen to a lot of brutal death metal and slam and weird stuff or whatever, dark things or whatever. But I mean, like
Yeah.
I'll turn on Bauhaus is just as easy. I'll turn on Eagles. It's like that's just how I roll. Or
But it's like,
I'll turn on Bowie just as quick as I'll turn on Donna Summer. I mean,
well, it's like nowadays with streaming, it's like I feel like you can keep up with all these things, but this kind of like all this kind of huge knowledge that you had from like when you're a kid, you must have just spent hours and hours with vinyl and just like
yeah.
just like descended into, I could just picture you descending into this world of like what kind of how big was like your vinyl collection as a kid? I can
Pretty
imagine it's
big.
enormous.
Pretty big. I mean, I still collect. I mean, a lot of the vinyl that I collected in the 80s, I lost in the flood, sadly.
Uh,
But I did started building it back up by going to vinyl shows in the 90s, which like vinyl was like cheap. People weren't really like, oh yeah, CD boom, and they were like, oh yeah, vinyl, whatever. I mean,
mm,
it's collectors always doing it, but I was one of those kids that I would just like I would be, I'd have Kiss Alive too, or Cheap Trick Live at Budokan, and I'd just be staring at the covers and just marveling and
yeah.
looking at the label and thinking about what it would be like to work at a label someday, or like what it would be like to be involved in the music industry. Just because I loved it so much. I mean, obviously it's an industry, and then but as a kid, you're kind of wowed by the illusion of it all and
Yeah.
how glamorous it once was. I mean, it's still
Yeah,
glamorous,
it's I think a lot
but
I think a lot of people because of like what Kiss became,
yeah,
it's like they don't know what it was like when that when those early Kiss albums came out, it was
yeah,
like, whoa,
right,
and
of
Kiss
course,
Alive came out and the
yeah,
blood
yeah,
and it was like scary and like it was like repulsive, attractive, scary.
yep,
It was like a serious experience,
for
and
sure.
but most people like caught it later on when it was like you know, more of a circus.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, like me being 58, I learned about Kiss. I mean, like, how do you learn about a band? If you have some older person,
Yeah,
kid, or whatever, your brother or sister or whatever may turn
yeah.
you on to something or whatever, or your friends that may be older. And that's how I like got turned on by a lot of music before MTV and all that other stuff,
Mhm.
radio. How are you going to discover music? There's all different ways, right?
Mhm.
But I mean, with Kiss, I mean, it was 76 and I saw the Poland Halloween special, and they were on that,
Oh
and
yeah.
and that was like I was like I don't know what that is or whatever. The
Yeah.
the big thing about Kiss was is that I mean, if you were a kid in the 70s, I mean, they were the biggest thing ever, and it was like cartoon characters like to the nth degree playing there were these larger than life characters,
Yeah.
and going to see a show like that, there was no show like that. I mean, they
Yeah.
took all these influences, Alice Cooper and David Bowie and Slade and all this stuff or whatever, and they melded it into this thing. They couldn't be the New York Dolls because they weren't pretty enough. They were like, we're going to just kind of make characters. They made these characters, and it's funny because like Joey Ramone would talk about Kiss, and he was a Kiss fan, but they from Queens, they were all in the same kind of thing or whatever. But it's like they kind of went in this direction and stuff like that, and they became a huge band. I remember walking wearing a Kiss shirt in I think it was like 90. It was like an old school Kiss shirt, and David Johansen walked by me and gave me a dirty look. Like, oh, those guys. But as a kid, it was a part of your culture, like Star Wars, like and
Yeah.
growing up in the New York City area, they were a New York City band, so like I had a sort of like a connection with what they were doing or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I saw them in '79. I didn't see them in '75. I didn't see them in '77. But it's still original Kiss. And yes, it's after Kiss Meets the Phantom, and it's blown out of proportion, and it's for kids or whatever, and it starts becoming insane and stuff or whatever. But as a kid, at 11 years old, seeing something like that live, it changed my life. I mean, there was
Oh yeah.
nothing like that
I really
live.
made it. I remember that. That really made an impression. Because
It made an
I think,
impression.
yeah, I was about that age, I suppose, and it was Destroyer was
Yeah,
the
just
album for me. I just like it was just like pouring over the cover, and I
yeah.
also was with two older kids,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah,
introduced me to it and everything.
yeah,
It was,
right.
yeah, just like you spoke. I really, made an impression.
Yeah, and you as a kid growing up, you're like blood, fire,
Yeah, yeah.
danger, and to see something like that live, again, there was really nothing going on like that at all. I mean, there's definitely stage shows and things that like they kind of set the precedent of where bands could go live. I mean, I don't think anyone had a stage show like that at all at that time, and that's what they wanted
No.
to do. They were like the bands you never saw, which is true. And a lot of people. It's funny because like a lot of people that are in our age group or whatever, like that did grow up in the '70s, '80s, and stuff like that, remember Kiss. And I mean, a lot of people that ended up becoming famous who are Kiss fans. I mean, like our metal, the whole metal scene
Mm,
loves Kiss. I mean, like at one time it wasn't cool to like them, and it's
mm.
probably still not cool to like them. But
I
like
think it's
the
not cool
Anthrax
now, yeah.
guys, the Anthrax guys. I mean, I've met those guys before and stuff.
Oh yeah, I met Scott Ian a lot of times. I think
Scotty and Charlie, and I met those guys before, and I had my battle vest on with my Kiss pins, and they're talking Kiss, and it's like they all love that stuff. I mean, they love that just as much as they love Minor Threat or
yeah,
GP or
like
something.
you can strike up a conversation about Kiss with
With
you
a lot
always
of
strike up a
people, yeah,
conversation about Kiss.
yeah. Did you want to
Well,
talk about these lyrics quick?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, read the lyrics to Retribution because yeah, I'm curious about where that came from.
Okay, so basically, it's like this. It's like the album itself is a concept record. So it's like basically this is a single from the concept record. I'm currently writing it. I pretty much have all of the shell together. I have another single ready to go. I just have to go into the hard drive and start like kind of panning stuff out because I've been like I have another project I'm working on actually with a new single that's going to be happening at the end of this month, beginning of August. So like a lot of stuff is going on. But the album basically it's about this guy and he moves into this apartment and next door neighbors are like these like sort of like satanic witches and the satanic witches friend him and then they kind of pull him into their life and he doesn't know it but like basically it's like he's like a sacrifice like he's going to be
Mm,
sacrificed and he's sacrificed but then he comes back to the dead to haunt them and he basically kills them so that's a
okay.
retribution is kind of like it's not probably the end song but it's kind of in there so it's kind of a
Okay.
foreshadowing of what's happening.
It's
So it's a
like
piece of the
when he
puzzle.
starts seeking revenge kind of thing.
Yeah, it comes back from the dead. And so that's what the lyric is. So it's like, fell for your lies and then you cheat and you steal. And it's like, moments of dread, I've come now back from the dead and making me feel that my pain wasn't real, sharpening my knife, going to take your life. So basically, he's like, it's almost like Creep Show. It's like, they buried those people in the sand. They came back. But basically it's the whole thing about it is about demise and rise is really a metaphor for rebirthing and kind of reimagining life.
Yeah. Oh, that yeah. We should tell everyone that's the name of the album, Demise and
Yeah, it's
Rise.
called
Yeah.
demise dot 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 and rise. So it's like through death comes rebirth, and that's really what it's about. I mean, yeah, it's a storyline about that horror story, but it's really more about people that wrong you, people that you trust that betray your trust, and
Mm.
you kind of fluffing that off and kind of moving forward. Something bad happens in your life, you have to like move on, or you demise, right? You
Yeah, I
die.
was.
You
It's funny because
spiritually die.
when I was reading the lyrics, I went to Bandcamp and was reading the lyrics, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, that dick dude betrayed me. I hate it." So
Well,
it yeah,
it's
works
kind of
on a
like that. I
general
mean,
level too. Yeah,
yeah, no, I mean it's just reverse the curse from where it became. I can't talk. Relinquish my role in who is to blame. You never thought you'd have to deal with the past, but now you know this day is your last.
Mm.
And the curse is reversed. So it's
Oh, and I
like
want a little trivia. The little snippet that starts
oh
it
yeah,
off. I'm gonna guess. Is it Rosemary's Baby?
it's not.
No. Damn.
Somebody else said that.
Is that right?
Yeah, you know who said that? Jen Batts from Release the Bats. Do you know those guys? Jen
Okay.
Dave Batts. They play Horrorhaus and Ancient My Enemy and Dr. Dracula's Lab and all that stuff or whatever. And they played Retribution on the last show. And I was like, "Do you know where this is from?" And Jen was like, "Rosemary's Baby." I was like, "Nope, it's not. It's not. It's not. I wouldn't go that big of
Obvious.
a movie
Or
in
that
San
big a movie. Okay.
Francisco." So it's from It's Alive.
Oh, It's Alive. I remember that.
Mhm.
Oh, that was like that was a creepy
Yeah,
movie poster. I remember that with the claw and the green light kind of. I
yeah,
still remember that. Yeah. It's
yeah. I mean,
Alive.
originally
Yeah.
it was original. I did a review on it for the new Nocturnazine actually, along with some other newer movie which I did a review for. But yeah, it was originally in 1975, but that movie came out and something happened where the people that were backing it, like at the major movie house, there was a changing of hands. So like once that changing of hands happened, it wasn't really promoted. But then 3 years later, there had been a new changing of regard after that, and the producer went to them and was like, can you promote this movie? And they watched it and they liked it a lot, and they were like, okay, yeah, we're going to do that. So then you saw the whole thing with the carriage and the hand and all that other stuff or whatever. It's like once it was reintroduced to the world or whatever as a movie. But I recently got the 3 pack or whatever in Blu-ray. It's like It's Alive 2, and this third one, It's Alive 3, and It's Alive 3 has Karen Black in it, so it's
Oh,
kind of
is that
funny.
right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
well,
don't
I think
know.
it's so cool that you're working with Renee and Nocturnazine because I mean, like I said, you have such an encyclopedic knowledge of music and film horror and all that stuff is great that you have an outlet
Yeah,
to get to share it with other people. But let me
yeah,
ask you, because we don't just have a couple minutes left, but
yeah,
is the rest of the album gonna be like similar to the Retribution track? That kind of
definitely,
sounds right. Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
I'm really looking forward to hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I have one track that I put out about 2 years ago that was going to be a part of it because I shelved this for a while, called Next Door Neighbor, but I'm going to be redoing that. I'm going to probably do a whole remix on that track and kind of gear it more towards in this direction, redo vocals and stuff like that. But yeah, it should be all along kind of this direction. There might be some ambient pieces in between here and there, but it's going to be totally dance floor oriented for sure. It's
Nice.
probably going to be the last one that I'm doing. I don't know. We're going to have to see because I'm like so busy doing other stuff, and I'm kind of like almost not necessarily out of ideas with this project, but like it's been 6 years, and I
Uh,
had
well,
a
you
lot of
said
stuff that I did already.
just briefly, I saw on social media that your daughter just graduated high school, and what does she think about what the old man does for this
Well,
music?
what's funny is that like if you go back to there's a song called Grimoire that's off of Evocation, and she did the sampling for it.
Oh,
So
nice. So she's
she did
into
the
it,
vocal
man.
sample when she was like 13 probably then.
Well, dude,
But yeah,
we're gonna get cut off, man. So I just
okay,
want to thank you so much
of
for
course.
doing this today. And yeah, I love the track and look forward to the album, man.
Thank you. Thanks for
Okay,
having
I'll
me.
talk to you soon.
Cheers to you guys.